You want your application in well before that date.
Ideally, for internal medicine, you should have at least 3 letters from physician in internal medicine and internal medicine subspecialties who you have worked closely with. It's not just about who your letter writers are, but also about the content of the LOR.
This personal touch can make the letter stand out. You want to remind your letter writers of specific cases or interactions you have had. It's helpful if they can write about particular experiences that showcases your strengths.
You want to tell your story in a genuine way. What makes you you? Programs aren't necessarily looking for the most impressive or dramatic story, but an honest story will typically strike a chord.
The personal statement, including other credentials, will get you an interview. It can be what excludes you if it comes across as trying too hard or feels inauthentic. Don't try to impress with complex language or elaborate stories. The My Eras application allows you to highlight up to 10 experiences, but don't feel like you need to fill all those slots just for the sake of filling it. You can indicate up to 3 geographic preferences. This can be a powerful tool if you have specific reasons for wanting to be in a certain area, such as family ties or professional connections. Another great area to explore is mentorship and support. You can ask things like, how are mentors assigned and what kind of support do they offer? Or, how does the program ensure resident wellness and work-life balance?
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to WTF We Talk Facts. I'm Dr. Emily Surzyn, your co-host, and today we're discussing a topic that's front and center for every medical graduate, the residency application process. I'm here with our host, Dr. Michani, and we're joined today by our special guest, Dr. Sneha Mishra, who is an internal medicine and obesity medicine physician, as well as a residency advising director at Mayo Clinic School of Medicine. Dr. Sneha and Dr. Michani, let's get started. Can you set the stage for what's today's episode will focus on?
Absolutely, Emily. The residency application process is something all medical graduates face, and it can be both exciting and stressful. We'll be breaking down the key elements, applying, signaling, and preparing for interviews. Whether you are a US graduate or an international medical graduate, you will need a solid strategy to stand out. And as Dr. Sneha will share with us, the insights from those of us who have been through it can make a huge difference.
Great. So let's begin with the application process itself. Dr. Sneha, from your experience advising residents, what's the first step applicants need to focus on?
Thank you, Emily and Satya, for having me on the show. So the first step is organization. You need to get all your materials together early, preferably well before September 4th. That's when the application cycle opens. So make sure your personal statement, letter of recommendation, CV, and all the other information on your ERAS application is complete. One of the most useful tools at your disposal is the AAMC Residency Explorer tool. The Residency Explorer tool helps applicants explore and identify programs where they are a competitive candidate. It gives detailed information about different programs, such as average step scores and even resident demographics.
And timing is critical. The application window technically started on September 4th, but programs begin reviewing applications on September 25th. You want your application in well before that date. Ideally, on the first day applications open. A later submission could put you at a disadvantage.
That's an important point, Dr. Michani. Now, moving on to the application itself. Personal statements and letters of recommendations are often considered the hardest parts. What should applicants focus on when it comes to these?
Sure. So let's start with the letter of recommendation. Ideally, for internal medicine, you should have at least 3 letters from physician in internal medicine and internal medicine subspecialties who you have worked closely with. It's not just about who your letter writers are, but also about the content of the LOR. So, if possible, meet your letter writers personally when requesting these letters. It helps to gauge whether they feel confident in writing you that strong letter. A tip here is to give your letter writers the date of September 4th to upload LORs and to avoid delays. Also, make it easier for them. Attach your CV and personal statement when you're requesting these letters.
And also, it's a good idea to remind them of a specific case or experience you shared, something that made an impact on you. This personal touch can make the letter stand out. You want to remind your letter writers of specific cases or interactions you have had. It's helpful if they can write about particular experiences that showcases your strengths, whether that's in teamwork, patient care, or clinical judgment.
Now, what about the personal statement, which can feel like a big task for a lot of applicants?
Personal statement has a big impact on your overall application. You want to tell your story in a genuine way. What makes you you? Programs aren't necessarily looking for the most impressive or dramatic story, but an honest story will typically strike a chord. It helps to give examples to make it more authentic. And programs are looking for resiliency in their residents. So if you have faced adversity in your life and have risen above it, make sure you highlight it.
Another important point is the personal statement, including other credentials, will get you an interview. It can be what excludes you if it comes across as trying too hard or feels inauthentic. Keep it simple, direct, and tailored to the programs you are applying to. Don't try to impress with complex language or elaborate stories. Let your real journey shine through and avoid over editing to the point where it is no longer feeling personal.
That's a very strong point there. I think authenticity is something a lot of applicants underestimate. Sometimes people feel pressured to craft a story that they think will impress programs, but in the end, what matters most is that the personal statement reflects their true self. After all, programs want to get a sense of who you really are, not just what you've accomplished. So, what other aspects should applicants highlight?
Beyond that, you want to emphasize things like your teamwork, leadership, and your ability to adapt to new environments. Programs are not just looking for academic achievements, they are looking for well rounded candidates who can handle the challenges of residency. Highlight any meaningful experiences, whether it's a unique case you handle, research projects, or leadership roles in medical school. And remember, it's not about quantity, it's about quality. The My Eras application allows you to highlight up to 10 experiences, but don't feel like you need to fill all those slots just for the sake of filling it. Focus on the experiences that had a real impact on you and your development as a clinician. Additionally, for up to 3 of those experiences, you'll be asked to write a short essay on why they were particularly meaningful for you. This is where you can really make an impact. Talk about how a specific experience influenced your decision to pursue your specialty, shaped your clinical skills, or taught you a valuable lesson in patient care. Be selective and intentional about what you include and make sure each experience adds value to your overall narrative.
That's great advice. Now, after the application is submitted, signaling comes into play. Can you explain what program signaling is and how it works?
Program signaling helps applicants communicate their top choice programs by signaling to the programs that they are interested in. In return, the programs are able to identify applicants who are particularly eager to join their residency. In internal medicine, you can send 3 gold signals and 12 silver signals. Gold signals carry more weight and should be reserved for the programs where you have the strongest interest or personal ties, such as those where you have completed an away rotation or have geographic preferences. Silver signals are slightly less impactful but still important in showing your interest in other competitive programs. Based on AAMC data, applicants who signal programs tend to have higher interview rates compared to those who don't. For example, using gold signals can significantly boost your chances of getting an interview at those top choice programs.
So, how do applicants decide which programs to signal? Is it just about picking their favorites?
That's part of it, but you need to be strategic. You want to signal programs where you have a realistic chance of matching. Use the Residency Explorer tool to identify programs that match your profile in terms of step scores, research experience, and geographic preferences. Your gold signal should go to the programs you're most passionate about, maybe places where you have done away rotations or where you have personal ties. And remember, programs pay attention to signals because it helps them filter through the thousands of applications they receive. If you signal a program, it should be backed up by your application. Don't send a signal to a program that you haven't thoroughly researched or that doesn't fit your profile. That can actually hurt your chances.
Yeah, it seems like it's a delicate balance between showing interest and being realistic. So, what are some common mistakes applicants make when signaling?
So, the most common mistake we come across is applicants signaling those highly competitive programs where their application doesn't align with the typical profile the program is looking for. Applicants might allocate a precious gold signal to a highly prestigious program, assuming it will make them stand out, without realizing that their application lacks the elements like significant research publications or even significant clinical experience which are valued by the program. So that misalignment can waste a valuable signal. Alternatively, they might not use the signal for a less prestigious program, but a well suited program. It might be a good idea to use your signaling to maximize on your backup programs. You would want to diversify your signaling. You would want to include some reach programs, but mostly the right fit and backup programs.
And then geographic preferences can also play a role in signaling, right?
Exactly. In the MyEras application, you can indicate up to 3 geographic preferences. This can be a powerful tool if you have specific reasons for wanting to be in a certain area, such as family ties or professional connections. It's especially helpful when your geographic preference aligns with the programs you signal. It increases the chances of getting an interview. And on that note, if you don't have a strong geographic preference, it might be better to leave that section blank and focus on applying broadly. You don't want to limit yourself if you're open to moving.
Right. So, let's move on to interviews now. What should applicants focus on as they prepare for the residency interviews?
Interview preparation starts with knowing your own story inside out. You'll be asked about your journey, your motivations for medicine, and how you have dealt with challenges. Practice these answers so you're comfortable, but don't memorize them word to word. You want to sound natural, not rehearsed. One critical factor is networking. Don't underestimate the value of attending conferences, joining professional organizations, and having conversations with faculty members or residents. These connections can open doors and give you valuable insights into potential opportunities.
That's especially true when virtual interviews are becoming more common. So, how should applicants adjust for the virtual format?
So, virtual interviews bring their own set of challenges. With virtual interviews, preparation and environment is key. First, control your space. Choose a quiet, well lit room with a professional background and ensure your internet, camera, and microphone work smoothly. Next, maintain professionalism. So, dress appropriately, sit upright, make eye contact by looking at the camera. Even though you're not in the room, your body language and presentation still matter. One thing to keep in mind is virtual interviews are different from in person ones, but they give you an opportunity to show that you're adaptable. Be prepared to ask thoughtful questions about the program and how they've adapted their training in the virtual or hybrid environment.
That's a great point. Now, do you have any tips on how to answer some of the more common interview questions?
Yes, for the common questions like why this program or what are your strengths and weaknesses, you need to tailor your answer to the specific program. This is where all the research that you've done comes in. If you've looked into the program's curriculum, faculty interests, unique features, bring that up in your answers. Show them that you've done your homework and that you're genuinely interested. These days, we also come across a lot of situational questions like, tell me about a time you disagreed with a supervisor or an attending and how you handled it. Or, tell me about a patient or family that meant a lot to you. Make sure you practice these common interview questions with a partner.
And as the interview ends, what kinds of questions should applicants be asking the program, Dr. Michani?
Ask about things that matter to you: resident wellness, opportunities for mentorship, research, or what the program is doing to adapt to changes in healthcare. These questions not only show your interest but also help you figure out if this is the right program for you. And don't forget the importance of following up with a thank you note after your interview. Keep it sincere. Mention something specific from your conversation and avoid using generic language. When you're wrapping up a residency interview, it's important to leave a lasting impression, and asking thoughtful questions is a great way to do that. You want to show genuine interest in the program, and you can start by asking about the program's unique strengths. For example, you might ask, what sets your program apart from others in the same specialty? Or, what areas is the program currently working to improve? That so shows you have done your homework and are interested in the specifics. Another great area to explore is mentorship and support. You can ask things like, how are mentors assigned and what kind of support do they offer? Or, how does the program ensure resident wellness and work life balance? These questions help you understand the environment you'll be stepping into and the kind of support network that will be available to you. You could also focus on resident experience by asking, what are some unique opportunities here that might not get elsewhere? Or what are some common challenges residents face? And how does the program help them navigate these challenges? This gives you a sense of what life will be day to day and how the program handles difficult situations. It's also important to ask about career development. How well does the program prepare residents for fellowships or independent practice? Or what kinds of career paths have past residents pursued? Are great questions to understand the program's long-term values. Lastly, don't forget to ask about the program's culture. You could ask, how would you describe the relationship between residents and faculty? Or how does the program promote diversity and inclusion? It's key to understand the social dynamics, which are just as important as academic aspects when choosing the right fit. By using concrete examples, you show how your experiences translate into qualities that will make you a successful resident.
Well, that wraps up today's episode. We've covered the essentials: how to approach the residency application, how to use signaling strategically, and how to prepare for interviews. It's a long process, but if you stay organized and focused, you'll come out on top.
To all our listeners out there, take it one step at a time. Start early, be thorough, and most importantly, be yourself. You've come this far, and with the right preparation, you'll succeed.
Thank you so much, Dr. Sneha and Dr. Michani, for sharing your wisdom. To our listeners, good luck with your application and stay tuned for the next episode of WTF We Talk Facts.
Once again, I thank all our listeners and also Dr. Sneha Mishra for giving us her time to enlighten us on the residency application process. And tune into the next episode of WTF We Talk Facts, and more insights will be discussed and real talk about the landscape of the medical field. Thank you.
Thank you, Emily and Satya. It was a pleasure to be here.
Thank you.